23 down, 1 to go, as the Constructors' title fight will be decided at the Yas Marina circuit. On day one, it is very much advantage McLaren in their historic battle, it's fair to say, against Ferrari. From Racing News 365, my name in a very sunny Sao Paulo, Brazil, is Nick Golding, and I'm delighted to be joined, as always, for the final Friday post-session F1 update by lead editor Ian Pox, who's in Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit. Ian, we've got to start, of course, with McLaren because, I mean, it's very much advantage them. Of course, they've got the 21-point advantage. And on top of that, Charles Leclerc's got a 10-place grid penalty. And on top of that, they ended Friday with a 1-2.
They couldn't have asked for a more perfect final Friday, really, could they, Nick, in all honesty? Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome from the Yas Marina circuit. I've got the very well-renowned W Hotel behind me. It used to be called the Yas Marina Hotel until it changed its name and got a bit of sponsorship behind it. And it now carries the name of W. But this is where the majority of the drivers stay, the majority of F1 personnel. A lot of high-flying stars, of course, usually stay here as well. So got a decent background for you tonight. I can't give you the full effect of the hotel because don't say anything, but I'm piggybacking off the hotel Wi-Fi to carry this F1 update to you guys. But yes, a perfect Friday for McLaren. As you say, it started with FP1 in all honesty. Charles Leclerc spent 30 minutes in the garage. We knew there was a problem. We didn't know the magnitude of that problem until just as the session had ended and Ferrari announced that there was a battery issue. They had to replace the ERS in Charles' SF24, and that means a 10-place grid penalty for Sunday's Grand Prix. Now, coming into this race, as you said, Nick, McLaren has a 21-point lead over Ferrari. Ferrari ideally needs a 1-2 finish on Sunday to really force the issue, to try and apply some pressure on McLaren. But with Charles now starting he will be outside the top 10 now, of course, because even if he qualifies on pole, he'll be starting 11. That 1-2 is looking very, very far off in the distance, and it's going to take something of catastrophic proportions, you would feel right now, for McLaren to lose the Constructors' title from this position. Yes, it's only Friday practice, but 1-2 is a strong position in which to go into this weekend, particularly as the second practice session, you always have to remember here, was more representative of the conditions that we're going to get in qualifying in the Grand Prix, just as the sun is setting, just as things are getting a little bit cooler. So it's most definitely advantage McLaren, that's for sure, going into qualifying on Saturday.
I mean, let's be honest, though, bizarre things have happened before at the Yas Marina circuit. I wonder which year that might be. So we've seen weird things happen before. Who knows? It could happen again. I'm not going to go there. I'm feeling controversial. No, it's not going to happen. But of course, we do know that crazy things can happen. And Ferrari, I mean, crazy things happen in Qatar. And it's because of the crazy things happening in Qatar that they are in this position of still being in the fight. But yeah, absolutely advantage McLaren. Let's talk about quickly. I didn't get to discuss this on Thursday. You and Sam did a brilliant job stepping in as host whilst I was traveling to Brazil. Discussed, of course, everything going on between George Russell and Max Verstappen. And of course, it has continued since your F1 update. Last night, there was the end of season drivers' meal, and some comical stories, I think, coming out of that. And of course, it sounds from the likes that George was the last driver to arrive, and that it just so happened that the only seat available was next to Max. And if the stories are true, George apparently moved the chair from next to Max down to the end of the table. He was sitting next to Lewis. But even Christian Horner today, speaking to Sky Sports, has actually said to George, you know what? Speak to a Max man to man. Don't do everything through the media.
Yeah, it's Lando Norris posted a very cheeky Instagram, and I don't know whether that story you just said is true or not, but the post from Lando at least gave an idea as to the feelings between the two warring drivers, shall we say, at the moment, because Lando said that, yes, it's right, folks, or yes, you can call it, folks. Those two drivers you are thinking about were sat at opposite ends of the table. So quite clearly, nice little play there from Lando. You got to give him a little bit of credit for a bit of sense of humor. But yeah, well done, Lando. But I guess, as you say, Nick, it has carried on into this final Friday. And of course, bear in mind Toto Wolff's comments when he impromptu joined George Russell's written media session on Thursday afternoon here in the Yas Marina circuit paddock, which was quite a surprise. He caused quite a stir and made quite pointy comments with regard to Christian Horner and certain words that Christian had aired against George post Qatar Grand Prix. So it's all carried on here today. Just to give a précis version, Christian Horner said after the Qatar Grand Prix, described George Russell as hysterical. Now, Toto Wolff weighed it in, as I say, on Thursday. He felt that Christian should not have been casting aspersions on his driver, that he was in no fit condition to offer psychoanalysis of his driver, that he was a little yapping terrier. So it what appeared quite, it would have then appeared to be quite a staged, managed question and answer in the official FIA press conference. So Christian Horner was asked about that yapping little terrier comment. And Christian then waded into this analogy about the fact that he quite likes terriers. He's had 4 terriers in the past. 2 of them, one he described as Bernie, one he described as Flavio. The Bernie terrier was quite forthright and really go-getting. The Flavio was a little bit more laid back, but nevertheless, this analogy carried on. And at the end of the day, he made his point. And at the end of it, he said, "I'd rather be a terrier than a wolf." So well done, Christian, for coming up with that beautiful little pun there. And then obviously he was asked about other Toto comments as well. And he was flattening them aside and pushing them away. And the bottom line is, as you said, in his Sky interview, he's basically just turned around and said, "Man up, George, go and speak to Max, get this done and dusted. Otherwise, more than likely, this is going to carry over into next season."
And of course, the thing that I love about these kind of stories is that ultimately Max can say whatever he wants to the media, George can say whatever he wants to the media, but ultimately the only 2 people in the entire paddock who know exactly who is telling the truth and who is lying is George and Max. It's the truth. Only they know what's being true, that's being said, and what's not. Speaking of Red Bull, I mean, a trend this season has been difficult Fridays, and this one may be even the most difficult yet. Max P17. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it for too long because we saw what happened quite clearly in Qatar. I mean, bad start to the weekend. He didn't win and won it. But of course, Max again complaining of understeer with the RB20, complaining of issues with the drivability. Helmut Marko has kind of downplayed Red Bull's chances of repeating a Qatar-like turnaround. And it does look like, it's going to be another tall order for Red Bull to turn things around.
Yeah, again, it's one of those practice Friday times where I really wouldn't read too much into it. The bottom line for Max, his primary soft tyre run, it was looking reasonable in sectors 1 and 2, and then he got blocked by traffic in sector 3. So that really compromised his time. He finished a second off Lando Norris's leading time, down in 17th. But yes, once again, usual Friday, usual issues for Max. Is he going to turn it around again? Don't bet against it, because we've seen what's happened in the past. So certainly, I'm not going to count him out. I wouldn't be surprised if he's firmly in the mix in qualifying on Saturday, battling those Ferraris and battling those McLarens.
Absolutely. As you mentioned there, Abu Dhabi Friday always is a bit of a weird one. Of course, in first practice, we saw an array of rookie drivers. Obviously, a pretty cool story of Ferrari. I'll let you talk about that for a second, because actually, 2 brothers in Ferrari for FP1, Leclerc and Leclerc.
It did for a short period of time look like, is it going to actually happen? Because, of course, as I mentioned at the start, Charles spent 30 minutes in the Ferrari garage as the Ferrari team were trying to cure this battery issue. And as we later discovered, they had to change the ERS on the car. This has led to the penalty. But eventually, yes, Charles did get onto the track. Both brothers were on the track at the same time. And if you can see, I could tap Bobo in the point up David here. I am working, folks, so if you don't mind, no worries.
Brilliant.
That was always
it's the end of the season.
Of being in this position that I've got people walking by me. They obviously didn't appreciate that I had working, but nevertheless,
end of the season, anything goes.
End of the season, anything goes. I've provided some wonderful stuff in the background over the course of the season.
This is the best yet now.
As you know, folks. That was quite fun. She was a little bit worse aware, shall we say, quite clearly. But anyway, she had a good time.
Focus.
All's good. Focus, yes. Bottom line is, the Leclerc brothers did eventually get on track in their Ferraris, and what a wonderful moment for those two guys to savor that opportunity. Charles said in the Thursday press conference when he was addressing the media that it would be an absolute dream come true.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it wasn't the nightmare that it could have been. He did get out on track, and he did, and he and his brother did fulfill that dream at the end of the day.
What just happened has made my season, that's by far the best. When we do an end of season montage of the best moments of this season, that's going to be, that's number one. That was brilliant. I'll quickly go through the top 10 from FP2, but as he mentioned, it's a bit of a weird one because it's Abu Dhabi. Lando Norris was on top, Oscar Piastri second, Nico Hülkenberg in third. We'll discuss that in a moment. Carlos Sainz in fourth, Lewis Hamilton in his final Friday for Mercedes in P5, Leclerc sixth, Valtteri Bottas in seventh, Magnussen eighth, Albon ninth, and Yuki Tsunoda in 10th. And Ian, let's discuss Haas, because obviously both drivers in the top 10, K-Mag 8, Nico in P3. And of course, there's a lot of eyes on Ferrari against McLaren for the Constructors' title, but of course, a lot of eyes as well on the fight for sixth. Really now between Alpine and Haas. Alpine D, 5 points ahead of Haas. RB kind of out at now, 13 points adrift from the French team. And actually, Friday, yes, you can only read into so much, but of course, across both one lap and long run, the Haas package is looking pretty good.
Yeah, Haas basically needs 6 points. They're 5 points behind. They do need that 6 points because on countback, that wonderful Esteban Ocon position, and I'm going to come on to him in a second, that wonderful Esteban Ocon second in Brazil has given them the advantage. Bottom line, Haas need 8th and 9th from this Grand Prix to overhaul Alpine, providing Alpine do not score any points. So, as you said, it's only Friday, but in fairness to Haas, they do look very good. They do look very good position for top 10 positions in qualifying. Pierre Gasly just outside the top 10, and of course, his new teammate for this Grand Prix weekend, Jack Doohan, in the car alongside Pierre. It was determined, of course, at the end of the Qatar Grand Prix that that would be Esteban's last race with the team. And of course, it lasted all of a couple of 100 meters because he got taken out at the first corner, unfortunately, by Nico Hülkenberg, as it transpired. You would think back to that. Nico got a bit squirrely on the entry into turn one. That saw him collide then into Esteban, who collided into Franco. And the damage was just too great on Esteban's car. And that was the end of his Alpine career. With Jack now in that car for this weekend. Jack off the pace, but we've got to just expect that he was building himself into this weekend with FP1 and FP2. We're going to see what it comes down to in qualifying. But right now, as with advantage McLaren for the Constructors' title, it's definitely advantage Haas for that key 6th place in the championship and that extra $10 million. That's the price difference between finishing 6th and 7th in the title race. And for both of those sides, that means an awful amount going into 2025.
There's a lot of very, very happy people we've seen in Abu Dhabi this evening as another one's going past. And of course, Esteban Ocon isn't in his Alpine this weekend, as you mentioned, because it seems like that was kind of the condition for him to do the postseason test for Haas, of course, who's joining next season. But it's all a bit sad, really, how it's all falling out. Esteban came out during the week with a statement, kind of saying this isn't how he wanted things to end. He even had a special helmet designed for this weekend, obviously, thanking Alpine. It's a sad end, really, isn't it?
A bit of a strange one, the way it all came about as well. A bit of a strange one, the way it all came about. In Qatar, as I say, he was taken out very early. So that meant he was in the written media pen quite soon after that incident. And it was a bit of a strange Q&A session that we had with him. It only lasted about a couple of minutes, but he ended it by thanking the team. And it was like, before I could get the next question in, as I was directly in front of him as to what do you mean by that, it already started to leave the pen, and I couldn't quite get that question in. So that led to me contacting Alpine, who basically were not willing to comment. And in doing so, you knew that opened the door that this was basically the end of Esteban's Alpine career. We were able to write the story at the time. Ollie Oates, the team principal, then confirmed it pretty much in his written media session. But yeah, a really strange way for a driver to go about ending his time with a particular team. We know it's been a bit difficult this last season, ever since that incident in Monaco Grand Prix, of course, when he and Pierre Gasly clashed and collided, and that took Pierre out that Grand Prix, of course. And from that moment on, Alpine pretty much decided, thank you very much, Esteban, your time is done. And they made an announcement very soon after. So, like Lewis, very much when he announced his departure from Mercedes at the start of this season, going to Ferrari for next season, it's one of those where the seasons have just eaten out for both drivers to a certain extent. And of course, Esteban not here this weekend. It's allowed Alpine to give Jack his early opportunity because, of course, he does have that full-time deal for next season.
Ian, I'm going to check my time because it's lunchtime here in Sao Paulo for the Formula E season opener. For you, it's dinner time, I think, in Abu Dhabi. So, shall we do our final qualifying bold predictions of 2024? And you know what? Because you've complained a few times that I always go first, for the final qualifying bold predictions, Ian, take it away. You can go first, mate.
My main one, and I guess you wouldn't be too far behind me on this, Nick, is that given the performance of both of those Haas drivers, and yes, it is Friday practice, but they did look very, very good. I'm going to suggest both Haas in the top 10.
I'm going to say I agree with you with that one, so I won't go for that. I think it's always going to be a McLaren pole. Which driver, who knows, but they are looking mighty. Yes, it's Friday, and we've kind of underlined it, but they are looking good. I have a feeling Lewis Hamilton is going to get a top 3 start. Why not end his Mercedes career on a high? We've not spoken about him. We will definitely speak about him on Saturday, whether it's a good or bad performance. So there we go. That's one. And of course, all those watching, let us know your bold predictions in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts on anything we've discussed or just anything that has happened on Friday at Abu Dhabi. For myself and Ian, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you do subscribe because we are running a giveaway to end the season, giving away scale model F1 cars. All you've got to do to be involved and have a chance of winning is subscribe. Come on, click the big red button to be in the chance of winning. From myself and Ian, this has been the final post-Friday F1 update. See you after qualifying on Saturday. See you later.
Join us for that next update post for more boost up Abu Dhabi GP revelers on this video right here. Thanks ever so much for that lady that intervened just back then a few minutes ago. As always, take care until the next video.